Hello, ladies. You're fired. Welcome to Raw is Jericho! Oh, let's get ready to suck it! And that's the bottom line.
I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest.
This is The Pencil, a professional wrestling podcast starring Renny D and friends. Thanks for listening to The Pencil. Subscribe to the show on iTunes and follow us on Twitter at Pencil Podcast.
Hey, yo, whoa, it's The Pencil, it is Renny D. Welcome to the fourth installment of The Pencil. It is a professional wrestling podcast, and it is me, Renny D, coming at you from the Lakeside Studio. Well, it is what it is. It's a condominium looking over Lake Michigan. A beautiful day here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but I'm not here to bring you the weather. I am here to bring you news and my instincts when it comes to professional wrestling, and quite the show we have for you today. A big show, including part 2 of my in-depth interview with the American Psycho Lance Hoyt. And in this part of the interview, we get into his days in the WWE, his time coming through Florida Championship Wrestling, getting called up to the main card, eventually working for the ECW brand. But as they say, all good things must come to an end. We did discuss his departure from the WWE, and then his time briefly in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Also, you know, it's something that I'm very happy to have Lance on the show, and everything that I said in the interview, at the end of it, I meant it. He has helped me tremendously in my days as a professional wrestler, as a professional, as my confidence grew in the ring, and just as a person in general. It's always nice to have those reaffirmations that you're doing something well and you're doing it on a consistent, continual basis. And that's something that I'm very proud of in my days of being a professional wrestler. A little bit later, Travis Mester will be calling in to join the show. We will discuss the WWE version of Labor Day, which was Monday Night Raw last night. I'm not going to get into it right now because there are some things that I got on my chest that I want to get off about the show. But the one thing that's been on my mind the last couple days, and if you follow me on Twitter or anything along those lines, you know that the last couple days have a special meaning to me as a person, as a professional wrestler, and as a man who loves the hell out of this business. And I want to get into it. A little trip down memory lane. I want to take a little bit of time here to walk you through what it was like 1 year ago. WWE Raw on Labor Day came at you from the Wells Fargo Arena in Des Moines, Iowa. Last night's Raw on Labor Day came at you from Des Moines, Iowa. Kind of funny how a year later on the same day in the same arena, they have the same show, and that's the same show that I actually appeared on for the very first time. It was my WWE tryout, the thing that I worked my ass off for so long, and the one dream and the one goal I always had as a child. I've said this on numerous podcasts that I've appeared on in the past. 6 years old, Renny D, sitting in the classroom, Mrs. Hires class, wants us to write a paper on what do you want to be when you grow up. And I sat there and I thought for no more than 2 seconds, and I put pencil to paper and I wrote, damn it, I didn't swear, but I said I want to be a professional wrestler. I want to be like Bret Hart. I want to live in an apartment, and I want to have a pet snake. Now, I don't understand why I wanted a pet snake. I think Jake the Snake Roberts had something big to do with that. I was under the assumption that an apartment was a condominium, something that I live in now. It definitely is not. I was out of apartments as a child. None of them were as nice as this lakeside condominium. But you know, it got me to where it was, or where I am here today. And I said I wanted to be Bret the Hitman Hart. Now, I never accomplished the feats and the the success that Bret Hart got, but damn it, I did something. I lived my dream, and I did it for 11 years. And when I got the call from the WWE to drive down to Des Moines, Iowa on Labor Day of all days, there was one answer in my head, and it was yes, and I hung up the phone, and I screamed like a little girl. And the road to this is rather interesting, and I don't have all the time in the world to walk you through all 11 years in the professional wrestling ring, but I mean, I have done and I have seen some shit in this business, and it's given me so much, and I really hope that I gave it as much as I've taken from the business. The memories that I have alone and the people that I have met in professional wrestling are up there, and I will never, I'll never lose those. They'll always be with me no matter what. I have tape of them. I have whatever I need. And as far as my WWE tryout goes, all I gotta do is go on the WWE Network, September 2nd of 2013, Monday Night Raw in Des Moines, Iowa, around the 2-hour and 28-minute mark of that episode. You will see me as a security guard on that show. And here's actually how it worked. And a lot of the guys that are in the business now don't really necessarily know how to get the call from the WWE. And I actually had a lot of help from Arya Daivari and Craven Knight, both gentlemen and both men who I respect the hell out of in this business, and I consider them actually my friends. And in pro wrestling, you can count your close friends on less than one hand. And I can tell you right now, that remains true for me. My closest friends in professional wrestling were John Johnson, Arya Daivari, Craven Knight, Red Lightning, and Horace the Psychopath. In those five really I could turn to for anything that I ever had as far as a question goes. And I knew Arya had an in the WWE. His brother Sean was actually in WWE back in the day. And Arya, let's get one thing straight. Arya is not Sean Daivari by any means. He's better than Sean. I will say that. I respect Sean. I think Sean was good. I wrestled shows with Sean before he got signed by New York. But Arya has surpassed his brother on the microphone, in the ring, as far as psychology goes, look goes. Everything that Arya has is a big package that the WWE has yet to sign, which it saddens me a bit because he's such a good person, at least to me. And in the ring, he's such a great performer, and he wants this more than anything. And so does Craven. Craven's been to the WWE 3-4 times now, and they still haven't offered him a contract, and it's a damn shame. But I'm not really here, I guess, to get into talking so much about Craven and Arya and their road to the WWE as much as I am talking my road to the WWE. So, in a nutshell, what happened, I guess I could attribute it, my last year and a half in professional wrestling were the best years of my life. I started to look like a professional wrestler. I got the in-ring psychology down like a successful professional wrestler, My promos were a lot better. And in March, I believe it was March of that year, prior to me getting the call from WWE, I appeared on a Heavy On Wrestling event, actually at the Convention Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And on this particular show, we were celebrating the career of a man who was going to wrap it up and hang up his boots for the last time, one Jerry Lynn. Now, anybody listening to this podcast, whether you're in Japan, UK, or the States, you're going to know who Jerry Lynn is if you're a professional wrestling fan. Some of the best matches of all time have been between Jerry Lynn and Rob Van Dam back in ECW. But Jerry, what people don't know about Jerry, is just a sweetheart of a man. And for me to get the opportunity to perform on this show for Jerry Lynn's last show, a show that pictures were taken of the show, people like Dolph Ziggler tweeted out, other people on the active WWE roster thanking Jerry Lynn for what he did for the business, and I got to appear and be part of the show. Craven Knight and myself were a tag team, and this is the first time that I can really recall where I'm actually going to be in a ring, in a match with a former Fed guy, Al Snow and Blue Meanie. The Job Squad versus Renny D and Craven Knight. And then that's when it really hit me that these promoters and these bookers in this area really do have the confidence in me, and I need to start to have the confidence in myself as well, because damn it, I'm good enough, and I'm going to be the best that I can be in this business, and I'm going to be the best wrestler I can be in Minnesota, and I'm going to make it to the WWE. Great start for me. I wrestled that show. I wrestled again for Heavy a couple more times with Rikishi and just different people on different shows and big-time matches. And that's when I really, really knew, hey, Renny, you're there, man. You're ready for this. Because what a lot of people don't understand is when I first broke into the wrestling business about 2 years in, Adrian Lynch, who is a former professional wrestler, an old-school veteran, wanted to bring me down to, I believe it was New York, for Dr. Tom Pritchard's camp to get me a look from WWE. I, at that point, appreciated the gesture, appreciated the offer. I turned down Mr. Lynch for the simple fact that I thought I was too green for this and I wasn't going to be ready. And I just didn't want to make an ass of myself when I went down there. I wanted to go there and make sure when I went there that I performed to the level where I want to be, I look the way I want to be, and I want to make sure they remember the name of Renny D. And that's why I told Adrian Lynch at that time, I got to pass this one up. I can't do it. So I reached out to the WWE. I knew they were coming to Des Moines. I knew they were coming to Minneapolis. I reached out through the FCW recruit page. Now, this was an old page they had for indie workers where you would go and upload a YouTube video, basically an 8x10 and a bio of yourself. Now, some people got calls this way and other people did not. I was able to obtain an email address for a lady that was in talent relations back in Stamford, and I sent her an email. No response. And I sent this email middle of the summer. So the show is going to be September 2nd. I probably sent this email in June. And nothing. Well, let's fast forward to the rest of the summer. It's now the beginning of August. I emailed or I called or texted or something. I believe I texted Ari and I said, hey, man, did you hear back? And he said, yeah, man, I'm on. I'm excited. Did you hear anything back yet? And at this point, I still hadn't. And I was at a friend's bachelor party here in Milwaukee. And in my drunken stupor, and this is just something where I looked at my phone and I said, you know what, I'm going to resend that same email again. I went into my sent list, I found the email I sent back in June, and I resent that son of a bitch because I wanted to be on the show. I wanted to get an opportunity to perform for the WWE, to hear it from the lion's mouth, whether I had it or I didn't have it, or what I needed to do to make sure I could be there. Sent the email in August. At this particular bachelor party, funny story is I fell into the canals down here in Milwaukee with my iPhone in my pocket. Now, I recently just got this iPhone, so I don't have an upgrade, anything like that. I get out of the water, my phone's fried. I can't turn it on. I can't get texts. I can't get calls. I literally just sent the email to WWE probably 2.5, 3 hours prior to this, and next thing you know, my phone is shot. And I'm hoping, hey, I'm hoping, damn it, they need to email me because if they call me, I ain't getting it. So, long story short, I got home from the bachelor party. I threw my phone in rice. It sat in rice from Monday morning to Wednesday, and I got home Wednesday at about 5 o'clock, and I checked my phone. It turned on. I had a missed call. It didn't say who it was from, but you could see the location. It said Stamford, Connecticut, and I knew right then and there. I knew right away. Holy shit, the WWE called me. Now, I'm not sure what this voicemail is going to say. It could say, we appreciate you reaching out, but we're full, or we just don't see it. I was able to go ahead and get the voicemail and listen to it. They basically invited me down to work Monday Night Raw in Des Moines, Iowa, and then again Tuesday night to work the SmackDown show in Minneapolis, Minnesota at the Target Center. I was so damn happy, just extremely happy. And mind you, it's 5:30, 6 o'clock Central Time, and I know Stanford's on Eastern Time, so it's 6, 7 o'clock out there. I proceed to call, and no answers. I left the voicemail. I got the next day, I didn't hear anything back by like 10 o'clock, and I'm thinking, son of a bitch, they found somebody to take this spot. Called again. Finally, they answered. I talked with the girl. She extended the opportunity to me. She let me know exactly what I needed to do, where I needed to go, what I needed to wear. And these are things that I wrote down on the paper, and I'm just, at this point, I'm extremely stoked and excited. But I'm scheduled to actually work on Labor Day at my shoot gig, and I have to call my boss, and I'm just like, hey, man, I need this day off. I have an opportunity with the WWE to work for Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, and I have an opportunity here to have my tryout match with the WWE. They were great. They got me off of work. I talked to Craven and Arya leading up to this. They're excited that I'm going along. They're actually going down the night before on Sunday and grabbing a hotel room so they can kind of chill. I can't get down there on Sunday. I have a benefit I need to do for my then girlfriend, now fiance's cousin. We did a golf outing benefit for them. So I needed to wake up early on Monday morning from Minneapolis. I woke up about 4:30, 5 o'clock, hopped in the car, and made my way down to Des Moines, Iowa, which is about a 3.5 hour drive. Met up with Craven and Arya at the hotel, And we kind of just sat around and bullshit a little bit. And those two already had a match put together, thinking that they were going to be the ones where, they get a chance to sit and discuss their tactics and what they want to do if they do, obviously get an opportunity to wrestle each other for their tryout. And at this point, I'm thinking, fuck, they got something figured out if they get called. I mean, I wonder what they're going to do for me. So we get there, we walk past the fan group. They think we're big hot shots because we're walking up in black tuxedos or black suits. Our roller bags or gig bags, we call them in the business. We go inside, we check in, and we sit in catering for about 3 hours. 3 fucking hours, just sitting in catering, not knowing what's going on. We're not sure if we're going to get into the ring today. We're not sure if we're doing promos today. We're not sure about anything at all. Finally, about 3 hours later, as I mentioned, William Regal came in, sat down next to us, and basically told us, hey guys, this is what we're going to do today. You're not going to get in the ring. We're not doing promos. We're just going to sit and talk. Now, mind you, this whole time we're in catering, it's filled up with any WWE superstar you can think of. I'm not starstruck at all. I actually know some of the guys. Eric Rowan was there, came and sat and talked with us, as he knows myself and Arya really well, knows Craven a little bit as well too. And, just some of the other guys like Hornswoggle, Dylan was there, just talked to the guys that we knew, and we interacted with as many guys as we possibly could. Everything was really cool. It was really awesome. It was just a nice experience to sit with your peers, because these are the people that, you're a professional wrestling family. You do anything for these guys. And everybody that we talked to was really cool, but that Monday was awesome because we just got to sit in the stands with William Regal, just shooting the breeze and shooting the shit about pro wrestling. And it was fantastic. I learned a lot in that conversation with William. We talked for a good 2 hours, and while we're talking, they're running through the production and running through the show in the ring, and Stephanie and Triple H are out there, and they're hitting theme musics and pissing Regal off because the theme music's too loud, but we have an opportunity to sit and talk and discuss pro wrestling. Well, as we're sitting there talking with William Regal, one of the production dudes comes up there, because we're in about the lower level section of the Wells Fargo Arena in Des Moines, and says, hey, they're going to need the locals here tonight to do something on camera. Is that cool? And right away, you just get excited because you're like, nice. I mean, we're going to get an opportunity to be on Raw and be on TV and be on camera. It's kind of cool. I mean, you could rub it off and just be like, it's not cool at all, but it's really cool. And initially what I was supposed to do is, if you remember the show, the Big Show was walking back after being humiliated by Triple H or Stephanie or something like that, and he was just going to go ape shit in the back and throw things against the wall and bust as much stuff as he want to. Well, that's the spot that I was supposed to be in. So I'm getting there, we're ready to film, we're ready to go, and all of a sudden they come up to me and they said, actually, we need you to do a different skit. So this is the night that Cody Rhodes gets fired from the WWE, and we have to escort him out. And this is cool because we have to go, and it's me, Arya, Craven, and then another person that was down there as well for the tryout. We get there, we do the skit once, Road Dogg says it ain't good enough. We do it twice, it ain't good enough. 3 times, it's not good enough. I mean, we literally took this take three, four fucking times until we got it right. And it's that's how they are there. They're such perfectionists that they want it perfect. So when you watch it on TV, you're living in that moment. And Cody Rhodes cut a hell of a promo. I was, obviously very impressed with his ability to cut a promo. And it was just cool. We got to do that. We sat by the monitor in the back. We watched it play. And was like, yeah, Twitter starts blowing up. Facebook starts blowing up. I started getting a bunch of text messages from everybody. And that was sweet. I mean, it was a surreal experience. It was really fun. But I knew that wasn't all what it was going to entail. Monday was over. We wrapped it up. We said bye to the guys. We're going to see the guys tomorrow. Jumped in the car. I'm driving back. At this point, it's about 11 o'clock at night. Driving the 3.5-hour drive back to Minneapolis at my townhouse that I have in Minneapolis. Knowing the next day I wake up, I drive to the Target Center, and this is the day that we know we're going to be having our tryout matches. Now, before we left Raw, we knew who we're going to have our tryout matches with. Craven and Arya, as luck would have it, got to go with each other. And I got pinned or put against this kid. And was I pissed off a little bit? And I was pissed off not because I got put against him, but because of why he was there. He didn't look like a professional wrestler. He just started wrestling 6 months ago. He had maybe 3-4 matches underneath his belt. His gimmick was he was a mathematician. He wore a singlet and he had a pad of paper that he walked around with him. Didn't look anything like a wrestler. Nice kid, good person. And I'm just like, son of a bitch. But me, I've been wrestling 10 plus years. I should be able to handle this situation. let's be good, Renny, here. Let's have a good match. Let's just make it simple and basic. Mind you, the whole time up to this, though, I've been told by people who've been there before, you can't keep it simple and you can't really keep it basic. You got to get your shit in. You got to show them what you're made of, because anybody can do a standardized indie match in a ring. I get this kid's number. I text him the whole way home about, let's do this tomorrow. My first mistake was I decided to be the face in the match, because his gimmick is a mathematician professor. I just can't see that as being a good guy gimmick. I said, I'll be the good guy, you be the bad guy. Here's what we're going to do. I laid the match out. What I thought was perfectly fine. And I still think the match that I laid out for him and I would have been perfectly fine. We get the SmackDown on Tuesday. We get into our gear. We walk out in the ring, and we stand in the ring in the middle of an empty Target Center, 14,000 empty seats, and WWE superstars surrounding the ring. Now, this is one of the toughest things that I've ever had to do in my entire life, because I'm used to performing in front of an audience, a live audience that I could feed off of and interact with. And this was just something that just was not possible, because there was nobody there to feed off of and nobody there to interact with. Our referee was Ricardo Rodriguez. We did it just like you would in the WWE. We played the hard cam. Ricardo gave us pinpoints on what we needed to do. Long story short, not to bore you with the details of the match. So the match itself was the shits. I'm not going to lie. The match was terrible. It couldn't have been any worse time for me to have one of my worst matches. It comes down to it. I should have been the heel in the match, and I should have controlled the pace. This kid, 6 months in, 3 matches underneath his belt, worked way too fast. Just never took his time, never gave me a chance to sell, never gave us a chance to really make what we were doing believable in the ring. And as soon as I got out of the ring, I knew it was the shits. I knew it was terrible, and I was pretty depressed. I was pretty down. I was like, it was my one opportunity, and I blew it. And and it is what it is. And Eric Rowan came up to me because he watched. He says, "Hey man, it wasn't that bad. You should have saw my first match. My first match, I got kicked out of the ring by Arn Anderson. It was terrible." We go in the back. We are going to do the interview segment now, and as we're going to do interviews, Michael P. Hayes comes up and says, "Hey, we need 2 locals for tonight to take on Khali." I knew right then and there I wasn't getting picked. Arya and Craven got picked to tag against the great Khali in a dark match on SmackDown. I went back in the room and I cut one hell of a promo. I actually cut my promo on Arya and on Craven, and I don't think I've ever told this to anybody before, but my promo was, you can pick Craven Knight all you want. He's going to bore you to sleep. And if you want to watch reruns while you're falling asleep, then you might as well sign Arya Daivari, because his brother's already been here and done that. Now, that's not a shoot whatsoever. It was something that I thought was clever and creative, and I wanted to use the guys that were there. I love Arya, and I love Craven, and they know that, and I hope to God that they get signed by the WWE, and I want them to have all the success in the world, and they will. And they deserve to be there, and I hope, eventually that they will. But Regal did say to me, and the guy that was there from NXT said, "I have a lot of passion. My promo skills are fantastic." I let them know about what my future plans were. They wanted me to go ahead and get into Ring of Honor and Dragon Gate, and they wanted me to come back next time they were in town. And that was felt good. William said I was welcome back anytime I wanted. He was very complimentary of my promo, my charisma, and my character. And, obviously we know that the match was what it was. It wasn't great, but at the end of the day, regardless of how the match was, and regardless of how the tryout went, and regardless of everything that came in along with it, I got a chance to get a paycheck from the World Wrestling Entertainment. I got a chance to hang out in the locker room with some of the best wrestlers in the entire planet, and I got to do it with 2 of my best friends in the professional wrestling business, Craven Knight and Arya Daivari. My family and friends were proud of me, but most importantly, at the end of the day, I was proud of myself. And it's something that can never be taken away from me. It's something that'll live on forever. And, until the moment I die, it's, hey, man, you got a chance to get in that WWE ring in an empty arena and look up at the Titatron, and there you were in full gear in a WWE 20x20 ring. And it was great. And I could keep talking about this, and I'm sure we'll talk more and more about it in the future. But for basically time constraint issues here, I'm gonna wrap it up there. It is my 1-year anniversary of my tryout with the WWE. It is our 1-month anniversary here on the Pencil. And coming up next here, we're going to get Travis Mester to call in. We're going to take about 15-20 minutes to talk about Monday Night Raw from last night. And then we'll go ahead and get into part 2 of our interview with Lance Hoyt. Hang on. We'll be right back at you from this lakeside view talking Monday Night Raw.
Hey, this is Chris with Spot Monkey Media. Are you a professional wrestler, a promoter, a business owner? Spot Monkey Media offers creative media solutions for your brand or business. Whether it's merchandise design or promotional material for your next event, Spot Monkey Media will work hands-on to bring your ideas to life. Spot Monkey Media. Create your legacy. Get a free high five when you mention this podcast. Connect with us on Twitter at Spot Monkey Media.
I have voices in my head, they count for me, they understand, they talk to me.
What up, everybody? It's Renny D, the host of The Pencil, a professional wrestling podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, PodBean, and YouTube. Each and every week, I do my best to bring you exciting guests to look inside the world of professional wrestling. I'll use my 11 years experience in professional wrestling to look at the product on TV, as well as dissect the news and rumors. Follow us on Twitter at Pencil Podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here. Going to finally get to it and discuss last night's Labor Day Raw edition. And to be completely honest with you, I was not impressed whatsoever with the show. Not even a little bit. Travis, how about you?
I was unimpressed with the majority of it. If I'm giving it a grade, I'm not going much above like a 3 or a 3.5. After looking at it today, I will say I think I liked more than I thought I did. When I watched it live, I thought I hated the whole thing. Some things were a little bit better than I thought, but still not good enough to even be considered an average episode, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I thought how they opened the show was fantastic, actually. I was pretty impressed with the highlight reel and having all the big names in the ring at once. I thought that was good. I thought it was kind of cool to see all the big names out there, and I thought it was cool to see Jericho involved in that situation again, considering the fact that he is going to be taken off here soon to go on tour with Fozzy and your band, Theory of the Dead Man. So that should be fun for him.
They're going to be out on tour together?
Tour. They are going to be opening for Theory of the Dead Man. So not only can you see Chris Jericho as Fozzy, you can also listen to Bad Girlfriend. It's like a perfect combination for you.
That is the perfect concert for me. Holy shit, I gotta find tickets. That just woke me up.
I mean, I'm telling you, if they don't come to Minneapolis, the rock and roll capital of the Midwest, that'd be a total mistake by them. The only thing I could think that could make this a little bit better for you is if Nickelback was on the card. Because if you have Theory of the Dead Man, Nickelback, and Y2 Chris Jericho, I think that's like the concert of concerts for you, Dirt.
I wouldn't know what T-shirt to wear because, yes, I have one of each of those in my closet, which I probably am one of the only people in America that can state that.
That's probably a fact. But, yeah, I mean, the opening was great. I thought that was good. I actually liked the fact. Now, John Cena didn't change anything at all. He did not change any of his attire. The only thing he did differently was he walked out, and instead of doing the salute at the top of the ramp, he walked directly to the ring and gave the world a piece of his mind. I actually like it when John Cena's a little bit more serious. I thought it was good. I like the jibber-jabber back and forth between Jericho and Triple H. I thought that was funny. It actually got me to laugh a little bit out loud. And it set the tone. I was glad when they set that match for the night, that six-man tag. I figured it'd be pretty good. And I was actually pretty impressed with the six-man tag overall for the most part as well. Did you, I guess when they made the match, did you have higher expectations for what the match actually did? Were you okay with the match?
No, I thought it was exactly what it was intended to do, and I think it was exactly what I expected it to be. At the beginning, I liked Des Moines. Seemed like a hot crowd. Des Moines, Iowa seemed hot last night. I loved that they were all about Seth Rollins because that's his home state, and that's just a cool thing to see a crowd know the wrestlers more than just what they see in the ring. And I like that kind of stuff. I think it's something that's missed a little bit more often than what it could be. I mean, you get Randy Orton in St. Louis, you get Dolph Ziggler in Hollywood, Florida, or wherever he says he's from, but you know he's from Cleveland, and then you get The Miz there, and when guys get cheered in their hometowns, I like that kind of stuff, even if they're heels or faces or whatever they are. So that was good. Like you said, having all those guys with the big names in the ring at the beginning, all I could think whenever Cena got to the ring with all the guys standing there was how big of a pop and how excited I would be if Lesnar's music just hit right then. Even if it was just have Heyman walk out, or if the Beast could have been there, surprisingly, and just walk out onto the underneath the big screen and look at everybody. I thought that's the only thing that could have made the idea better, but there were parts of the actual open that could have been better.
Yeah, well, let's use that and segue right into the Paul Heyman promo. What were your thoughts on the Paul Heyman promo last night?
It was good. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it was his best work, but I don't think he had much to work with. Like you said, John Cena's not changing. Like, he's saying all the same stuff. He wants Brock Lesnar. He's going to beat Brock Lesnar's ass, yada, yada, yada. Nothing is changing. So it puts Paul Heyman in a tough light, I think, to have to try to change what he's saying whenever John Cena's not doing anything different. So Paul Heyman's just gasping at straws right now, trying to find ways to say why Brock Lesnar could even be excited about this match, which it makes more sense at this point for him not to be excited, I think.
Yeah, and I think Paul really doesn't ever do a bad promo at this point in his career, but the thing I think Paul could have done last night was make mention of the all-star lineup that was in the ring to start the show, because what Triple H did to start the show was contemplate taking away the rematch from John Cena, which we all know was never going to happen. It would have been cool if they would have done something with that, though. But Paul Heyman could have even said something along the lines of, it doesn't matter if it's Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, or John Cena, he's going to rip them all apart. That way you have something to work with down the road, because he's beaten Cena at Night of Champions. There's not even a question in anybody's mind, I don't think, what's going to happen there. But who does Brock Lesnar go to next? And I think that they need to focus on the Night of Champions match, which they're doing. But at the same time, if they can kind of give little hints to what the future holds for Lesnar, it would help the product as well, and that gives Paul a little bit something else to work with. Because honestly, I don't know who Heyman's gonna, or not Heyman, but I don't know who Lesnar's gonna to take on next. I haven't heard anything as far as who the next one to step up is gonna be, and I don't really know. I mean, if I'm gonna book it, I would book it being Randy Orton, but that's because I love Randy Orton. But Orton is a face, or a heel, excuse me. Lesnar's a heel. I don't see another big face.
I think it's more likely that we go a couple of pay-per-views and get real close to that Royal Rumble time without having Lesnar main event the pay-per-view, to be completely honest, because I think you're right. I think Randy Orton makes the most sense, but I don't think you can feasibly put him there in a month when all he's been doing is losing to Roman Reigns for the last month.
Yeah, I mean, unless Batista can come back and finally get his one-on-one match that he was supposed to get from WrestleMania. But the thing is how is the crowd going to react to Batista when he comes back? I just listened to his podcast with Jericho. Batista's fucking awesome. He's cool. Like, it was really sweet to hear him say the things. He was ripping a little bit on the WWE fan base as far as how they react and how they try to overtake the show. And it was kind of interesting from his perspective because he didn't expect it. But I'm telling you, man, I don't think there's a match that I would want to see more than Lesnar Batista lining up face to face inside of a ring, because we haven't had a big guy main event in long time. I mean, we've had CM Punk, we've had Daniel Bryan.
That was one of the best moments of the last year and a half, was when Batista was back. And do you remember the one episode of Raw that they were in the ring at the same time? It was electric.
Yeah, it was. I mean, because people, as much as the fan base and as much of the smarks out there want to talk about how great Daniel Bryan is and how the future Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, which I've said the same thing, the fact of the matter is you can be as talented as you want. You can't teach 275, 6'7". You can't teach that. It's you don't pick that up overnight. That's genetics between those two, and having two beasts of men standing face to face in a ring, regardless of how talented they are, is pretty impressive for the fan base. And if that match happens, or a match similar to that happens, I don't think people would really get into a Big Show Lesnar rematch as much as they did. But even when Big Show Lesnar had their tangle back in the day, when Show threw Lesnar and Lesnar did a backflip thing and whatever the hell it was, that was awesome. I thought it was really cool, and I think that's the next. If it's not Orton, Roman Reigns isn't ready. Seth Rollins was not going to cash in. Sheamus and Cesaro and all those guys are wrapped up in the mid-card titles. It only makes sense to either have it, you need to have it be Orton, or you need to bring Batista back, or I can't see Cena challenging for a third time. That makes zero sense. So like you said, maybe right off not have a title match on a pay-per-view in a while, or not, at least not until Survivor Series, or what they're going to do. But it should be interesting to see what they're actually thinking. But I think we've kind of beat that horse with that dead horse with a stick pretty hard the last couple of weeks. Let's get into a couple more topics from last night. The one topic that kind of pissed me off was the fact that WWE is taking advantage of the whole Michael Sam getting cut by the NFL situation. By being pissed off, I mean for the simple fact that they invited him to Monday Night Raw next week to give him a microphone, to have a forum to say whatever he wants to and get anything he wants to off his chest. My big thing with that is you have a WWE superstar who's actually hurt right now, But he came out less than a year ago, and Darren Young, and not once have they ever offered him a chance to sit in the middle of the ring, tell the world his story, and do his thing. I don't understand. I get it's a publicity stunt, but I mean, you could have done it with Darren Young the day after he came out and got just as much attention because he's the first pro wrestler to come out. I thought it was stupid. I wasn't very happy about it. Did you have a feeling one way or the other with that whole situation from last night?
I was shocked whenever it came on the screen. I didn't know what it was. I never saw it coming. But yeah, I mean, you said it right. That's exactly what it is. A publicity stunt. It doesn't. I don't know that it makes a whole ton of sense outside of like the idea that WWE is an entertainment business. I mean, it almost makes them seem like, what are they doing? Like Good Morning America, like having on like anybody that's famous and does something interesting is going to come on and talk about it. It just doesn't make any sense, I don't think. But
Zero sense.
Not a wrestler. I mean, all of a sudden, it could shock me. Have him come out next week and maybe he's got some sort of wrestling background that nobody knows and he's going to do something cool and it'll be awesome maybe. But at this point, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't think it makes any sense. They got published in a couple different websites this morning. Michael Sam signs with the Dallas Cowboys this afternoon, the practice squad. WWE.com removed absolutely everything about Michael Sam. Shocking, right? Just takes everything down as soon as they know they don't have a chance to get him. And then in return, because they couldn't get Michael Sam, don't know if you heard this yet, Jerry Springer is going to be on the show next week on Monday Night Raw. One can only assume it's the Bella Twin gimmick or the Bella Twin angle. I get it. Jerry Springer is the man who gets between family problems, him or Maury. The Bella Twin angle at this point has just, it really lost a lot with me.
I was gonna ask you this question. I wanted to run this past you. In one word, finish this sentence. The Bella Twins angle is blank.
Dead. To me, it's dead. And I'll say this because when she did the heel turn, awesome. The promo in the ring last week where she grabbed her hair that we talked about, awesome. Growing up a Bella and then talking about how Bree sleeps with Ryan, Nikki's fucking prom date. And now Bree can't pass high school, so Nikki takes all the tests. And how Bree couldn't pass her driving test, so now Bree's stealing the car, getting in that. I mean, just fucking retarded, just stupid. It's not wrestling related. I get it's family issues, but that whole segment last night with AJ and Paige and the Bellas and Stephanie McMahon, just dead silence from the crowd. Just absolutely dead. The only thing you heard was CM Punk. Everything else was dead silence. It was just, it lost everything for me last night, and I don't know if they can recover from it.
Nikki looked great. Nikki looks great.
Always does.
She looks great.
Always does.
The only other thing I could think of during that segment, because I wasn't paying attention to it, because it all was just weird, and it was just a mumble of, I don't know how many people they tried to get in the ring at once, like at the beginning, and then they thought we're going to do the same thing with the women in the middle. It was totally unfounded, I thought. But maybe Stephanie McMahon went backstage and was like, I can't carry these segments with the Bellas anymore because they suck so bad. I just need to get somebody else that can talk. And God knows AJ Lee is far and away the best diva on the mic, and she's at least entertaining. So maybe Stephanie just was like, I just don't want to take a night off of having to deal with this, and AJ can handle it. Which, I mean, she did well enough. And I mean, after the segment, all I could think about was, so is Nikki getting a title shot, or what exactly was the reason for any of that? Yeah,
and the only person in that ring last night besides AJ Lee that should have a title shot is Stephanie McMahon. And I'll tell you why. She towered over everybody in that ring. I didn't realize, I've met her before, but I know she's tall, but seeing her stand next to AJ last night, there's a drastic difference in height between AJ and Stephanie. High heels or not, Stephanie is a woman. AJ Lee looked like a little child compared to Stephanie last night. And I don't know if they're going to try to work some sort of angle between Stephanie and AJ. I can't see it making any sense whatsoever.
I mean, the only way it can make sense is if somebody's been talking to Punk, because the chances CM Punk will be unbelievably loud if we get AJ Lee as a babyface going against the Authority.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, how are they going to avoid it at that point? And then the only way it can make sense is if they're just saying, all right, well, we got all of our fucking balls in this bag. And if we got AJ as the biggest fucking match against Stephanie McMahon at a pay-per-view in the future, maybe we can get him to come back and be in the title picture, because I don't know how else they're going to avoid it if they put his wife in the biggest feud against Stephanie McMahon, which is what they teased last night. And I didn't hate it, but I mean, we can't be the only people thinking that. Yeah,
I didn't hate either, but I think I'm smart enough to know it doesn't make sense. It's not going to happen. And if it happens, well, okay, well then what's the tail end of this going to be? All of a sudden AJ loses and then she goes home with Punk and then it's all over with? Or I don't know. I mean, all I know, and I don't know if you heard this too, but CM Punk getting pretty upset for a fact that a wedding photo between him and AJ got leaked. He actually tweeted something out saying, if you retweet this, I'm going to block you. He later removed it. I mean, it is just ridiculous, that whole Punk AJ WWE situation. I don't know, because what I don't understand is if you are married to somebody, and that somebody that you're married to is going to be main eventing WrestleMania, putting her title on the line, you're not going to go and support her. You're not going to be there for her ever. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure she's okay with it if it's been this long, but will we see Punk back in the ring again? I think we will. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon yet. I think it's going to be quite a while, and I have no idea if he does come back to WWE, if it's going to be a part-time basis or what it's actually going to be. But the minute that his music actually hits and he actually does come through that curtain, if in fact it does happen, it's going to be a special night, and I hope he makes a lot of money, but I hope he really sits at home right now and thinks about just absolutely everything he's put that company through, because you really, like, literally showed up one night for a pay-per-view, left, didn't come back, nothing. And it's just, that whole situation still to me to this day is remarkable, and I can't wrap my head around it. It's just crazy to me. And now if we got to take a look back at Raw last night. Now I know one of our friends was pretty upset last week that we didn't talk enough Mr. Jack Swagger, your favorite superstar on the roster. I'm going to go and on record and say this again. The Bo Dallas situation last night with Jack Swagger might have been one of the dumbest fucking things on the show too. Just absolutely garbage after garbage after garbage last night of writing from the creative team, from production. The Bo Dallas situation with the guy saying that he lost his entire farm based on a scripted professional wrestling match. Nothing that they're doing is believable anymore when they do stuff like that. You mean to tell me that this indie worker from Des Moines, Iowa is going to be sitting there? He looks like a child. Apparently he is rich enough to own an entire farm, and he knows a guy that he can bet on professional scripted wrestling and lose his farm. His entire farm, Travis. The whole damn thing. The chickens, the cows, the milk, everything that goes along with it. The entire fucking farm is gone because Jack Swagger lost to Rusev. The whole farm, man. It is gone.
I will say, the Jack Swagger and Rusev feud, I don't know if it's over. I'm assuming it is, since we got the Rusev Mark Henry thing going on more. I thought it went on a little bit longer than I thought it would anyway, but the matches were pretty darn good. They had good chemistry. They both sold their injuries fantastically for about 3-4 weeks. Good matches, solid. That's all I'm giving our boy, Ryan Drapes, who really wants to hear about this guy. I'm not giving him any more seconds of this fucking show, because that Bo Dallas shit is awful. I wanted to fast forward through it when I watched it, but I knew we were going to talk about it today. So I watched it, and I lost those 8 minutes of my life. I'm never getting them back.
Never, ever getting them back. Just like you're not going to get back the 8 minutes of the Adam Rose match with the Bunny, Heath Slater situation. You're not going to get back the 20 seconds of Zack Ryder getting demolished by Rusev. We literally can go down the line of segments last night on that show. 3 hours. And I watched some of it on delay on DVR. To be honest with you, I fast forward through the commercials in the beginning. I got caught up about 45 minutes in. And then I was pissed off at myself because I couldn't fast forward anymore. And it just one thing after another, and now you're bringing Jerry Springer into the mix next week, and it's a fucking circus, and they need to right the ship straight. They need to focus their attention on the main event picture, which I think they do an okay job of that we didn't get. I don't think we got enough of the U.S. title, Intercontinental title situation last night. I don't think we got nearly enough.
The Miz is absolutely fabulous in his character.
Love it.
The Miz is fabulous. Damian Sandow is great. If those two can, I don't care how they work it, but those two got to stay doing exactly what they're doing, because at least Sandow's getting on TV because the guy's entertaining, and the Miz is just a frickin' fantastic heel. And whoever he goes against, he's going to help them become a bigger face. And I know who can make offense look good. We know we've talked about this for weeks. Dolph Ziggler can make a guy look good offensively. So they're both going to. I hope that feud goes on for 2 or 3 more pay-per-views because they're dynamite.
I agree, and I agree they're dynamite. It's going to build up that Intercontinental title. Sheamus and Cesaro is going to be fantastic, hard hitting together. See, they need more time on those 2 titles. I think you got a 3-hour show. Let's tone down a lot of the stupid shit that you're doing. Let's focus on the important things at hand, and I think you could have a decent product again. I guess we're going to wrap up the Raw Rewind here because we got the second part of our interview with Lance Hoyt coming up next. What are you looking forward to? Looking forward this next week in pro wrestling. We got main event going on right now as we're taping this. We got SmackDown on Friday, and then we got Raw on Monday. What's the one thing that you're looking forward to going into next week?
I'm going to go actually with something from last night's Raw that's been going on for 2 weeks now on a couple different shows, and I'm looking forward to a lot. It's the fact that I think we're going to be looking at a new tag team championship on Night of Champions. I think Goldust and Stardust are coming into their own, and they are the only challengers to Jimmy and Jey Uso right now who have held the belts for quite a long time, and I think we're ready for a change. I think they're doing a good job of taking their characters from whatever they were, which was kind of weird and all that backstage stuff, to now being legitimate heels and taking out the Usos after matches and injuring them and basically being exactly what they probably should have been all along. So I'm looking forward to Goldust and Stardust hopefully taking tag team championships in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think it'll spice up the tag team division. Kind of cool to see those guys being heels, and it actually works pretty well. One thing I'm looking forward to, last week I said I was looking forward to what Randy Orton's going to do in the future. Still not entirely sure there if it's going to be a Roman Reigns Randy Orton rematch.
I don't think we have any idea what he's doing yet.
I'm still not 100% certain there or sure there. So I'm looking forward to seeing if we can get any more leeway on his situation. But also Seth Rollins, is there going to be a rematch between Dean Ambrose at Night of Champions, or is Dean Ambrose out long enough now? Where they're going to have to do something else with Seth Rollins. So that's what I'm looking forward to in the next week. We'll see what happens. I hope to God that Raw is much better next week, and I probably will DVR through the Jerry Springer bullshit because I ain't got time for it. I'm glad Michael Sam's not going to be there. Jesus, WWE, please just focus on what's important in life, and what's important is putting a decent product on television and not the garbage that you put on last night, because I don't want to sit through that again if I don't have to.
Nikki Bella is gone. I mean, let's not complain too much.
No, I mean, it's Nikki and Bella and Lana can take up 40 minutes of my screen time, and I'm okay with that. Lana is just one thing after another when it comes to her. But I guess, with that being said, we're going to wrap up our Raw Rewind here. Stick around.
I'm assuming we don't want to mention the Total Divas 8-person tag match that they had.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is why. This is why you have editing features on a podcast. I just want to take that. I want to remove exactly what you just said, just like I want to remove that match out of my memory from last night. Just, again, the definition of fucking garbage, it was last night's Monday Night Raw, especially that segment and every other segment that we've touched on already. So, coming up next, part 2 with Lance Hoyt. Stay tuned. We're going to be talking the WWE and his days after the WWE in New Japan Wrestling.
You think you know me?
We are having a great episode, but coming up next is our guest of the evening. You've been listening to The Pencil, a professional wrestling podcast with me, Renny D, and my friends. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes, PodBean, Stitcher, and YouTube. And follow us on Twitter at Pencil Podcast. Okay, so did they reach out to you while you were still under contract with TNA at that point? Or after your TNA contract ended, did you reach out to them and get this all set up right away?
Basically, I had a friend who was acting as an agent. There me while I was still under contract with TNA. He let them know that my contract would be null and void on that Wednesday, and so on Thursdays when we set everything up, and the rest is history.
Perfect. So
then what was that couple of days like? Whenever you're going into your WWE tryout, basically, did you have a tryout in Florida then, or how did that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think WWE had some kind of negative experiences with some former TNA talents that had come over, and so I think for me it was I was a talent that they were interested in, but they didn't know much about. They just knew I'd been with that TNA for 5 years. I had friends that were a part of both companies, and I think it was more of just kind of a, let's see how he acts and reacts. They brought me in, they put me through the ringers, I ran like 3 matches back to back, I cut the promos, I interacted with all the people that were involved with the FCW product at the time, and it was just, I think, kind of an attitude situation. It was like, let's see where he's at, let's see if he can get in there and go, let's see if he complains about, basically being put to the test and all that stuff. And, I just went in with a great attitude, and I busted my butt, and I worked the matches as hard as I could, and I presented everything that I could as best I could in whatever fashion I felt like they wanted to see from me. And, I mean, it was a situation where they liked what they saw, and I was offered a contract.
did you, when you were under contract then with WWE, or down in Florida Championship Wrestling at the time, which is now NXT, did you feel that they treated you any differently because you were a quote-unquote TNA guy, or did you feel part of the family from the get-go?
I knew going in that it was definitely again, let's see how this guy's going to be, because they'd had some very negative situations come about with other guys who were coming from TNA or had come from TNA who had handled themselves very poorly, especially around the FCW product, because those guys at that time, those former TNA talents, felt like they were above that or something like that. I'm not sure. Again, I wasn't there. I don't know the situation. I've just heard the stories. And for me, I knew where I was at. I knew what I wanted to accomplish, and I knew this was the path that I was on. So walking into FCW with any kind of chip on my shoulder or acting like I'm better than anybody wouldn't have done me any good. So I walked in there with just basically knowing that I had the ability and that FCW was going to give me the opportunity, and that being there was going to help me learn a learning curve that if I'd have just gone straight to TV, may not have had. And, it was a good time and a good experience. And there was a lot of great people there and that were involved in there. Dr. Tom Pritchard, Steve Kern, Norman Smiley, all these guys that were there, Dusty Rhodes, who was a big component in me getting my job there. It was just a perfect opportunity if you go in with the right attitude and the right mentality of, I'm here to learn, I'm here to do my best, and this is a great chance. If you walk in at any point, whether it's FCW then, NXT now, and you think and act like you're too big to be there, there's a good chance that you'll get pushed out pretty quick, because, unless you're just so talented and so amazing that they can't deny it, but this is the entertainment industry and they can deny stuff if they truly want to. It's about the relationships you build with the people in and around you in this business. And that was a big component of what I was trying to accomplish at FCW, was building those relationships with the people that were going to give me those opportunities. And if those people didn't like me, it's one of those situations where you don't get those opportunities. So I just went in with a great attitude and an open mind and ready to work and earn my spot.
Right. One thing, with the recent signings of Kevin Steen, Prince Devitt, and Kenta, as far as they're fantastic workers. As far as wrestling goes, they're right, leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of the people on the roster in WWE. Have you been in the ring with any of those three, and how do you think that they will do in the WWE system at this point?
Never been in a ring with Kevin, but I've heard nothing but good things from the people that I do know that have been around him and in the ring with him. Ferg and I have obviously had many matches at New Japan while he and I were both there. Had some awesome matches in the G1 last year and then the New Japan Cup. And then as far as Kit is concerned, he was a NOAH guy, so I didn't know him at all.
Gotcha. Perfect. So, now your time in FCW was pretty brief before they called you up to the ECW roster. Is that right?
Yes.
How long were you in FCW before you got the call to come up?
About 6 months.
That's a lot quicker than most people obviously get the call up. I actually took the opportunity today to watch your debut match on ECW. Again, I think it was in Rhode Island, all right, against, I believe it was a local talent, about a 2-minute squash match. You definitely looked strong in the match. The one thing that I actually didn't really realize about you, knowing you from when I worked you last year, was the look that WWE gave you. The short hair, the clean face. They approached you with this idea. Obviously, you're going to do it. How did you actually feel about looking back at that? Did you like that look for yourself? Did you not like it?
Again, it was a situation that was put upon me at the very moment. I literally walked. I showed up at TV not knowing that I was going to be on TV that day until a certain point when people were like, we'll get information for your bio later. And then that day, they'd given me 2 or 3 different local talents that I was going to work with. They kept changing it. And then about 5 minutes before doors opened, it was just me standing in the ring, waiting, watching Vince McMahon and Johnny Ace, who at the time, was in a different position with the company. And they were sitting there discussing, I guess, me. And then at some point, Johnny basically was like, "Kid, come here." I was like, "What's up, Johnny?" "Cut your hair." I was like, "Okay. Am I still on TV?" And he said, "Yep." I was like, "All right." So I had no say in the matter. I mean, I guess I could have made a stink about it, but it would have done me no good. So literally, I went from having hair about the same length as it is now, a goatee that I braided down about 4 or 5 inches off my chin, a long, big leather jacket, a very different look. And then they were like, lose the jacket, cut the hair, shave the face, go. And so it was one of those situations where it was kind of thrust upon me at the moment. I tried to do the best with it I could. It's not necessarily, it wasn't me per se, but you got to do what you got to do with what you're given at that moment, and so I was trying to accomplish that. And at first, I think it was good, and ECW was definitely one of those products, but I feel like if ECW had stuck around for longer while I was there and a part of it, I would have had a much stronger chance just because ECW was its own product. I mean, a lot of the top stars of today were guys that were part of that. Your Sheamuses and your Kofi Kingstons, and even though Punk's not there anymore, Punk started on that ECW product, and he obviously became what he became. And, you think about what their ECW product produced for them in the future. If it had existed longer for me and some of the other guys, I think I would have had a stronger position within the companies, and maybe an opportunity to find myself even better.
Did you work with Paul Heyman at all when you were at the ECW brand, when he was running that brand?
No, he wasn't there.
He was there, okay. So your ECW run, obviously, then your big thing was you and Kurt Hawkins formed a tag team in WWE, and that's when you started developing, I guess, the look you have now. You started bringing it back, and watching some of those matches today, too. The commentators kept making comments on your beard, and I think it's funny because of the story you told me about Vince loving your beard. Are you able to share that story? Because I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was definitely one of those moments where, again, I hadn't been on TV for about 3 months. I've been there every week, hoping and waiting for an opportunity, obviously. I'd seen Vince, Mr. McMahon, every week, shaking his hand, said hello, but I wasn't on the product. It wasn't like he had a reason to really pay attention to who I was. And then Kurt and I were scheduled to start filming some stuff. A lot of that got changed, so that night they just decided to throw he and I in a dark match with some of the local talent, and just to kind of create some continuity with each other. And at the time, I had a pretty full beard going, and I remember we got done with the match, everything went fine. I walked into the back, and Billy Kidman, who was running the gorilla position at the time, he pipes up and he goes, Vince likes your beard. And I just kind of looked at him and went, what? And he goes, Vince likes your beard. And I went, okay, cool, thank you. I didn't know what to say about that, but it was just kind of an awkward moment. And then back to FCW, the story was told that Billy said he was at gorilla position. We were in the match. We were doing the match. Everything was going fine. At some point, Vince flew into his ear, into Billy's ear, and was like, hey, his Vance always had that beard. And Billy was like, well, he's been growing it, but yes, sir, he's had it for a while now. And he goes, I really like it. Be sure to tell him I like his beard. And that was one of those things. Vince notices things. He sees something he likes, and he immediately lets you know. And he'll do the same when he doesn't like something as well. But at that moment, he liked my beard, and it was one of those things. It was like, all right, great beard, keep that beard, So it was a cool moment, just kind of funny. And to really feel that conversation coming out of Vince to Billy to me was probably
Right, and it's funny because if you watch the match, actually, in Gorilla, he must have gotten the ear of Michael Cole because Michael Cole comments on your beard. So it's just it's one of those.
No, that's not even the match I'm talking about.
Oh, it's a different one.
This was a dark match. This is before that match.
Okay.
So they were already, I guess, clued into what they were supposed to discuss. I don't know, but yeah, this was a dark match. This wasn't even on TV. That situation happened.
How was your time with Kurt?
It was great. It was great. It was just, it was one of those things that, working there is very much a hit or miss. And initially we were doing really good, but we weren't given a lot of fanfare as far as our team. We were introduced on Superstars. Cool. That's awesome. We're getting an opportunity. We're basically winning against local talent. Good. That's awesome. Makes us look good. Did some stuff on SmackDown, nothing extremely specific, but a few matches. And then, something, we ended up having a not so great match one time on like a Superstars event. And then, somebody somewhere, we kind of got lost in the shuffle going into SummerSlam. And then, they just weren't doing anything with us. And then it was like, well, let's separate them. Okay, let's do that. And they just didn't have any decisions on anything, It was just one of those situations where, things were really good at first and then it changed and nobody really knows why.
Right. How was your WrestleMania moment? Because you were at the Battle Royal for WrestleMania. It was WrestleMania, what was it, 29? 29, yeah. How was that for you?
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, how many guys truly get to lace up their boots and walk down the ramp and get to perform in the crowd, regardless of what it was? I had an opportunity to do that. They don't do that every year, and not every year the guys get a chance to do that. And there's a lot of guys that have been a part of the company that haven't had that WrestleMania moment at all, other than being around it. Like I said, I got to walk out there. I got to lace up my boots. I got to stand in the corner and pander to the crowd, and I got to wrestle, and I got to fight, and I got to be there with friends. And it was just, for me, regardless of the fact that it was just a pre-show battle royal, it was awesome.
Right. Yeah, I've obviously only been to WrestleManias as a fan, but I dreamed of that as a kid too. And when I was wrestling, it's the one thing you just want to do more than anything else, regardless if it's a pre-show or a main event, just to be on a WrestleMania. Huge accomplishment. I mean, you've done so much up to this point in WWE. If your career after your WWE tenure ended, would you have been satisfied with everything that you've done in the business?
No. I'm one of those guys that is always looking to work hard, do my best, achieve more, and become something as big and better as I can in the business. And, I've had some awesome opportunities, but no, I wasn't satisfied, and I wanted to keep working hard to try to keep moving forward in my career in whatever path that would be.
Right, and that's a great answer. I was kind of hoping you'd say something along those lines. Obviously, striving to always do and want more, which is fantastic. WWE, when it ended, how did it end? Why did it end? Was it one of those things where they just didn't have anything for you? Was it a mutual thing like TNA? Can you get into kind of how your departure from WWE actually occurred?
It just happened. Literally got a phone call, spoke to Johnny about it. It was explained to me as a financial situation, and until recently, the group that I was a part of the last mass releasings that they'd done until, just recently when they started doing that again. But it was the last time, until this recent time, that they did that, where they had, I think, 11 or 12 different talents, both from the main roster and from the developmental system, got released. Several writers had gotten released. A referee got released. It was just one of those dark days, and unfortunately I was a part of it. Like I said, I was told it was a financial decision. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I never had any heat with anybody. I've been to several events, been backstage, hung out, talked to everyone, had a good time. There's never been an issue or a problem whatsoever. So, it is what it is. And unfortunately, they were gone. We got to make some budget cuts, and I was part of it.
Right. And I recently was talking to Ricardo Rodriguez about his release. He said at first, obviously, very disappointed, very heartbroken, but obviously now it's an opportunity for him to go back out and work the indie scene or to go to Mexico and work in AAA. With you, if WWE called tomorrow and said, Lance, we want you back, you have a great thing going in New Japan, which we're going to talk about here shortly. Would that be something that you'd want to uptake again with the travel schedule with you as far as long in your career as you are. Are you happy and satisfied with New Japan, or would you go back to WWE if they called and the situation was right for you?
If the situation was right, you never say never in this business, and that's the whole point. I think everybody's always trying to strive and achieve the biggest and best thing. I'm not under a full-time contract with New Japan. If I was, I'd be completely and absolutely satisfied with where I'm at. The great thing about working for New Japan is it's an awesome company, and they've given me so many opportunities to find myself. And, if I had gone to New Japan prior to going to WWE and then went to WWE, being who I am now, back then, I would have been absolutely successful. I know that. But unfortunately, it was at a time I was uncertain. I didn't achieve what I should have. What I am now, who I am now in the business, I know would be absolutely successful in WWE as a product if they more or less left it be how it is and just gave it the stage that it needs to be seen as a WWE product. I never say never, but that opportunity isn't here now, so I can't give you a different answer as to yes or no.
And one thing, Adam Pearce, huge name in the independent scene. For those of you out there who don't know who Adam Pearce is, which if you don't, shame on you, you should. He recently actually went to the Performance Center a couple times to help with promos and training some of the kids down there. If WWE reached out to you for something like that, as far as a position at the Performance Center to go down there and help hone the skills of these kids down there for TV, would that be something? Would you ever be interested in something like that, or do you need to be in the ring performing in front of that crowd on a regular basis, or is that something, again, never say never?
Again, I think it's more just a never say never situation. If it came about and I felt like it was the right thing for me to be doing at this point in my career, you asked me my age earlier, and I'm at a point where I am getting to an age where, there may not be a whole lot of years in front of me as far as being a top-tier performer. I'm not saying that I can't do it right now, but how many years beyond this do I have? I don't know. But I've gained a lot of knowledge in 14 years, worked for, 3 of the major companies in the world and working with the top talent in the world. And I think I have a lot of knowledge that would be invaluable to those talents, those young guys, those guys trying to become that next generation of professional wrestlers at the top talent and the top tier. I think I have something that's invaluable to them. So if that opportunity came about, you never know. It might just be perfect for me and what's next in my career. Who knows? But as of right now, nothing like that's been there. New Japan and we're still in great terms, and everything's going really good. The tag team I have with Harry Smith has been awesome. So, it's just, who knows?
Right. And you never know how the cards unfold. It might be a gig someday that you might get offered, and you have a chance to give back to the wrestling business that way, and that would be a great way to make a living too. If someday you finally take your last bump and you decide to go into that. So let's go ahead and transcend now. New Japan Pro Wrestling. How did that relationship come about? You're very successful there. One of the bigger names in the promotion. Your name is all over the internet. I've seen your pictures on Twitter. It looks like it's just an amazing opportunity, an amazing time that you have over there. Take us through how that came about, the relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling. How did you end up back in Japan as a mainstay in this promotion?
Okay. I apologize. I'm going to try to make this kind of short because I need to get off here pretty soon.
Yep, absolutely.
Basically, New Japan came about as my time ended with WWE. I had the relationship with a lot of people, good relationships, and that's what this business is truly about, is the relationships you make, because the relationships you make are the people who are running these businesses and these companies. So I reached out to the people that I already worked with in Japan before. They made contact with New Japan. Also, I had people within WWE that made contact with New Japan. So New Japan decided to give me my first opportunity. Once I got in front of them, all of a sudden we realized we'd already met, and I knew some of them, and they knew me. And then I went in and I performed really well on my debut event in Osaka back in 2011, June of 2011. And from that point on, it's just been a really, really awesome run. I've had some amazing opportunities. Had about a year and a half doing more single stuff with a group within a group called Suzuki Gun. I've wrestled in some of the biggest events that New Japan has put on. I've been a part of the company as it's grown. They got bought out a couple of years ago by a company called Bushiroad. It's a trading card company in Japan, and they've added the money into the company, and it was already on a successful path, but now they even have more money for promotions and things like that. and it's just helped their business grow. And then a couple of years ago they brought Harry Smith in and put him and I together as a tag team, still within the group Suzuki Goon, but we came up with the tag team name of the Killer Elite Squad, KES, and he's now known as Davey Boy Smith Jr. He took on his dad's name.
Right.
And we've been extremely successful and had a lot of fun there, being the IWGP Tag Champs for better part of a year from the end of 2012 through most of 2013 on into this last year's Tokyo Dome. We got to wrestle in front of 50,000+ people at 2 different Tokyo Dome shows. Just seeing some amazing opportunities come about in my time in my career, and then they've obviously helped me find who I truly should have been all along in the business of professional wrestling, and that is the American Psycho, Lance Hoyt or Lance Archer, depending on where I'm at. It's given me a confidence that I never had before in my career, and it's not that I couldn't have had it, I just didn't know, and I was always trying to find out what they wanted, not necessarily what I wanted. And what New Japan gave to me was an opportunity to find out who I wanted to be. They definitely wanted a monster. They wanted a certain product from me, but they just kept saying, no more. We want more. We like that, but we want more. And so I was just keep giving them more and more and more of who I wanted to be, and they just kept picking it, and it's just really become an awesome, cool thing.
Awesome. And I know you got to go. I just want to ask you 2 questions real quick. One comes from a fan. He wanted to know what your top 5 tag team partners were. I don't know if you have a top 5. I know you probably have a top 3 for sure. Can you name off who your top 3 were for him?
I have to ask. David's got to be my number 1 just because of the success I've had with him. Kurt and I had an awesome, fun time. I can't deny what I got to do in WWE. Jimmy and I had some fun, cool times when we were in TNA. Obviously, starting with Kid Cash at TNA and getting to be a tag champ with him was awesome. I got to tag with Ron the Truth Killings at TNA for a little while, and that was a lot of fun. I've just had some amazing tag partners, and each and every one of them have helped me out in different ways and helped me become, again, who I've ultimately become. And it's been nothing but cool and awesome to work with each and every one of those guys. And in no real order are those guys. I just have to put Davey first because obviously we've had most recently.
Right. And now Japan wrestling is a lot more strong style wrestling than the Americanized wrestling. That's not what I want to ask you. I want to ask you, and it's always been a thing on my mind, the fan base in Japan compared to America. Why are they so different, or how would you explain the Japanese fan base in a real quick for us?
I just think they're much more attentive and, in a sense, respectful of what the guys are putting their bodies and themselves through to be performers for them. American fans are more like being in a beehive. It's a constant buzz. They're constantly talking and yelling and screaming, and they're part of the show, and it's a cool, awesome atmosphere. And in Japan, a lot of times you get those quiet moments. And those quiet moments aren't because they're not entertained. It's just they're very attentive to what's happening. They're very respectful of what you're doing and going through. Very, very, very few and far between do you see if, a guy put in some kind of submission hold in the U.S., if he escapes through a rope break, do the fans, applaud it or care? They really have to work hard if fans give that kind of appreciation to it. Whereas in Japan, if you're put in some kind of submission hold and you're able to escape getting to the ropes, the respect that you get just for doing that is at a different level and a different altogether. I don't know how else to explain it. And then when you get the reactions, the big reactions in Japan, it means you've really done something special because they're so attentive to everything that's happening in every moment in the match that when they really blow up and they explode and they applaud and they scream and they yell, you've really done something cool and special.
That's awesome, man. And I know you got to go. For people who want to follow Lance Hoyt on Twitter, it's at Lance Hoyt or Lance Archer, depending where you're at. Yep. Honestly, people, if you have a chance to get out and see this man in the ring in your area, if it's an independent show, do it. Whatever money you spend on a ticket, it's going to be well worth it. Lance, I can't thank you enough for what you did for me in the ring a year ago. I learned a lot from you. The match goes down as one of my favorite ones of all time. And the fact that you took time to pull me aside and help me out, that means more to me than anything else. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for everything that you've done for this business. And thank you for coming on the show. I know Travis and I really appreciate it. We wish you the best of luck in the future and all the shows that you have and safe travels. And again, just thank you, man, for everything you've done. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys having me on. It was a lot of fun, man.
All right, Lance.
You're the man, Lance.
You
We'll
take care,
talk to you
buddy.
later.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. And that wraps up my interview of the two-part series with the former WWE superstar, goes by the name of the American Psycho, Lance Hoyt. Now, he gave us a lot of material in his time in professional wrestling, as starting from his days in Texas, coming up through the ranks and eventually getting signed by TNA, and from TNA basically jumping ship right over to the world of wrestling entertainment with Vince McMahon and the Empire there in Stamford, Connecticut. A short time in the WWE, but he still learned a lot and was still able to utilize the things that he did there to help him in the future in professional wrestling, and part of that included his time in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I know we didn't get a whole lot of time to talk New Japan Pro Wrestling, but Lance is going to be kind enough to come on for a third installment here with me and Travis to talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling and his future in professional wrestling as it stands now. And Lance does a lot of indie dates around the country, and that's how I met Lance, and that's how eventually we ended up in the squared circle together. Push comes to shove, Lance obviously has a lot of confidence. I think he could end up back in the WWE again. I don't know, though. I mean, obviously, he did step around the question on his age. He is 37 years old. You get up there in ages and the bumps start to wear and tear a little bit, and Lance definitely needs to make a decision that's best for him and his family, and decide moving forward what he wants to do. And New Japan Pro Wrestling could be picking up some more steam here coming into the future, so you never know. We do look forward to having Lance Hoyt back, and we will keep you informed on when that does actually eventually happen. But until then, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here for this week in episode 4 of The Pencil. A good episode of me reminiscing about my time in the World Wrestling Entertainment, basically as my tryout a year ago. And Travis and I talking WWE Labor Day Raw, and then obviously the Lance Hoyt interview. Next week, the guest is going to be determined at this point. Still working on kind of summing up a few things and getting that wrapped up. But as soon as I have the guest signed for the show, I will let you know. As always, it's going to be entertaining, and as always, I will bring everything I can to make it the best possible show that you have heard that week on the podcast world, radio airwaves, whatever it might be, and however you might be listening. I definitely do thank you for listening to The Pencil again this week. Remember to subscribe on iTunes. It'll download straight to your iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple device. You can find us on PodBean, on Stitcher, and if you don't have any of those forms, go ahead and go to YouTube, hit play, watch a still image, but listen to the greatest audio on the internet when it comes to professional wrestling. Until next time, I'm the one and only, often imitated, never duplicated Renny D. We'll see you next week.